Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not the type of brother to play with. See a lot of people acting like, oh yeah. All ball players sounding like haters. We the young kings of this generation, oh yeah.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Pitchside with Parker. And as you could tell by the title, today we're going to start previewing the Premier League Top 6. A new season is just around the corner, and I wanted to get out some predictions here as we lead up to the new season in the next few days. So what I'm going to do is tell you who I think is going to finish top 6. Today, I'm going to do 5th and 6th place, and then we'll do 2 more places each day. So the next couple days, there will be some videos for you to watch. I'm going to profile each team and explain why I think they will finish where they're going to finish this season. And as I am looking forward to the new season, I am looking forward to new things for this channel. I'm pushing towards 100 subscribers, so if you're new here, definitely subscribe and come along for the ride, because there are going to be so many videos coming up. I can be your one-stop shop for everything soccer. So if you're new here, definitely subscribe. And if you've been around, do me a solid and share this video with your friends. Show it to somebody new, and we can get new people joining the community right here on Pitchside with Parker. Beyond that, be sure to follow me on Twitter as well at Parker K. Johnson. Get involved, as I've shown in past videos. If you get involved with me on Twitter, you can make it into these videos as well. I love when people interact, and I'm very active on there. So definitely check that out as well. And go ahead and leave a like right now on this video, and we can get started. So this has been a tough video to make, and this edition especially was where things got real nitty gritty, because trying to pick who would finish 6th place this season in the Premier League was quite a task, I must say. I think that there's a clear top 5 in terms of Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, and I think most people probably agree with that. However, outside of that, there are a lot of teams who could really be competitive for that 6th spot, and I do think the Premier League is going to look a little different this year, because last year was a very clear top 2, and then there was a next chunk of teams who were kind of fighting for 3rd and 4th, as we saw on the last day of the season. But this year, it feels like the gap at the top has closed a little bit with the improvements that are being made at Arsenal, at United, at Chelsea, to kind of close that gap with Liverpool and City. And then it seems like the bigger jump is from 5th to 6th place. And as we were looking at who's gonna finish 6th, my thought was, okay, it's probably gonna be between Leicester, Wolves, Tottenham, and there could be some outside contenders as well. I mean, Sheffield had a really good season last year and was in those top 6 positions for a while. Leeds, who's coming up this season, they look like they could cause some damage in the Premier League. And even a team like Everton, maybe. I mean, this has been the story the past few years, but they've made some big signings, and if they could finally turn some of them into talented Premier League players and good results, the likes of James Rodriguez and Alan, I mean, they could compete as well. But with that being said, the team I think will finish 6th place this season is Tottenham. Now, a lot of you will probably be a little surprised by this, because you're like, hey, you're an Arsenal fan. How could you possibly believe in Tottenham this much? Tottenham finished 7th last season, so this is actually predicting a jump for them in terms of the competition. So yes, it does pain me a little bit as an Arsenal fan to make this call, but I will explain it a little bit to you. Last year, Tottenham had a very Spursy season. They were down near 14th in the table when Mauricio Pochettino was finally sacked. They suffered that humiliating defeat to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, 7-2 at home, which I think Barcelona fans these days made that look not so bad. But it was tough times at Spurs, and then he gets sacked. Jose Mourinho comes in, and he really transformed the team. As much as Spurs still felt like a little bit of a non-threat throughout the rest of the year, they improved their performances dramatically. Mourinho was able to inspire them up to 7th place, but even to make it that far, I would say it was a pretty good success from where Tottenham were at when he came in as the manager. And another thing to remember about Tottenham last season is that they had to deal with a lot of injuries throughout the year as well. And yes, this is true of every team, but the fact that players like Harry Kane and Heung-min Son missed a bunch of games for them was a huge impact, because they don't have that same depth as, say, the other top 5 teams that I'm going to talk about in these previews. And so it really hurt Tottenham. And again, for Mourinho to be able to deal with that and still find ways to improvise and get results with Tottenham, I found to be pretty impressive. And I think if Kane and Son are fit for a whole season, now they've got their first full year of Bergwijn in as well, I do think that this roster has what it takes to finish top 6. And what we've seen under Mourinho historically is that immediate progression. And we saw it last season, and it usually does continue. And then, of course, we know that the cycle ends in third-year drama, but Tottenham doesn't have to worry about that quite yet. And if history tells us anything, it's that Mourinho should take a step forward this season. And the next thing we'll look at, as I will do for every team on these lists, is the transfer business. Now, Tottenham has had a good transfer window, I have to say. They know they haven't made any big splash signings or anything, but they've made some smart ones in Matt Doherty and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And these two players are players that address needs for them. Tottenham certainly needed another good player on the ball in midfield, and fullback is definitely an area of concern for them. I think Serge Aurier might be going. They lose Kyle Walker-Peters to Southampton in sort of a semi-swap deal with Højbjerg. Doherty, I think, will be a really good player for them, and he's got experience as a wing-back with Wolves, so if Mourinho wants to go 5 at the back, they can do that. And then Højbjerg, I think, is a really underrated player from Southampton, and Southampton had a very good finish to this season. He can kind of switch things up in that midfield. He's a great presser, as he had to do that a lot with Saints. So I do think that it gives them a lot of options. The only other big player of note that has left Tottenham is Jan Vertonghen, and I do think they will feel the impact of that a little bit. I think they're fine as far as center backs are concerned, but he did fill in at left back a lot last season. And how much do you really believe in Ben Davies at left back? I don't know, but they will miss Vertonghen certainly, and even just his presence as a very experienced player and somebody who had been around Spurs for a long time. So that will be a big departure for them, but as I said, a pretty good transfer window. So what is the big question for Tottenham coming up this season? To me, the big question is, which Dele Alli are we going to see? Because I want to call your attention again back to when Mourinho first took over. Now, in their first 5 games, Tottenham won 4 out of 5. They scored 14 goals, so almost 3 per game. And Dele Alli had 3 goals and 3 assists in those 5 games. He looked revitalized under Jose Mourinho, and then kind of faded off as the rest of the season went on, again as they were dealing with some of those injuries and maybe he didn't have as many playmakers around him. But at that time, he was starting in the lineup with Son and with Kane, and Tottenham looked to be a force under Mourinho. Ali's always been a bit of a mercurial player. He's the type of player that if he's on form, they look like a different team. And because Jose Mourinho was able to get so much out of him when he first came in as a coach, I think that there's a chance he could get back to that this season. That number 10 role has always been a crucial role in Mourinho's system. That's something I talked about in my Ozil video, which you should check out if you haven't already seen it. And if he could be that guy for Tottenham, if he can supply the likes of Son and Kane and Bergwijn on the outside and start being the focal point of that team and stepping up to the expectations that other people have of him and that he has of himself, that would really change Tottenham. So while it's something that I don't necessarily hope to see as an Arsenal fan, I have to be unbiased here on this channel, and I'm always going to do that. And to me, Tottenham is going to finish in the top 6 this season and grab that Europa League spot ahead of the likes of Wolves and Leicester and the rest. So, on to number 5. And as I said before, this is where we take that step up in the Premier League. But there is one team that does stick out from the rest just a little bit to me, and that is Manchester United. So as we look at last season, Manchester United had a bit of an up and down year, as a lot of these teams did last season. It was a funky season. They finished 4th in the league, snagged that Champions League spot on the last day, finished the season on incredible form once that team came together and the front 5 was just clicking between Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, Greenwood, Pogba, everybody in that lineup. They all looked very good. But United lost 3 different semifinals last season, and so the only thing they really had to celebrate at the end of the year was that top 4 finish, and to this day, Solskjaer still has not won a trophy for them. In terms of the transfer market, United has made a couple of purchases so far, but it seems like they've yet to do their biggest bit of business. So I do have a tough time judging it at the moment. What they've done so far is they've brought in Donny van de Beek from Ajax, and they've brought Dean Henderson back from Sheffield United. Those are two pretty good signings, I think, for Manchester United. Van de Beek is a very talented player, and he was a crucial part of that Ajax team that made it to a Champions League semifinal a couple years ago. And Henderson honestly addresses a big need for United, because I have been vocal before about how I think De Gea is dusted and could be a liability for this team. And it's good that they've got Dean Henderson in there, because he will serve as much better competition than Sergio Romero did, all due respect to him. And he's really going to put some pressure on De Gea. Whether that means that De Gea could step up his level or that Henderson just eventually replaces him, I don't know. But either way, that should improve the goalkeeping situation at United. But as I said, their transfer business isn't done. They've been linked with a whole lot of players, most notably Jadon Sancho. And I know a lot of United fans really want that deal to happen. I'm still of the opinion that it could happen, and I know it's really been shut off by the media, but Dortmund have a history of doing this. They will tell people that their players are going to stay and da-da-da, and it was very clear that Sancho was trying to make that statement before preseason started so he could just kind of focus, be with the team and whatnot. But the transfer window goes until October 5th, so there is still so many deals that are yet to be done. And in my opinion, I actually do expect that United will still get Sancho, but that's a prognostication. I can't count on that, and so for now, I won't assume that in this video. The only real player of note that they've let go is Alexis, and although it was a free transfer, it was essentially a big money move for them, because Alexis Sanchez was on massive wages, talking about 400 or 500 grand a week. And so to get those wages off the books and shifted to Inter was actually a big deal for them. So that's the only player that's gone out really, but it was a notable one. So my big question of the season for Manchester United is this: what is Ole made of? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been at the helm for a couple years now at United, and he has yet to win a trophy. He has had some impressive results. He's notably very good against the top six, which is something that can't be said out of all the other big clubs around England. And so he does have that going for him. He's obviously got the run of form that United finished the season on going for him, but he hasn't brought it home when it matters. And I think when you compare him to the other managers of the top 5 teams in the Premier League, to me, he stands out as the least impressive. Yes, he has slightly more experience than Mikel Arteta and Frank Lampard, only by about 6 months or so, but I do think that both of those young managers have shown me more than Solskjaer has at United so far. I think one of Solskjaer's great qualities is the way that he just lets the players go out and play. Especially at the end of the season, he saw, you know what? I'm going to put the 5 best attacking players out on the field: Pogba, Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, Greenwood. And we're just going to let them go. Let them create. Let them go out and express themselves. And it worked out really well for him. But it's not like it really takes a whole lot of intelligence or gusto to make that decision. And what I worry about for Manchester United is that once the pressure starts building higher, as we've seen in these 3 semifinal losses, what can he do when the bright lights are on, when there's a little heat under his chair? Because I think this season it's going to be so competitive when a team like Arsenal or Chelsea or City are all pushing for these top 4 spots and they're doing a little better. How is Ole going to respond? It's easy for him to, get the credit for letting the players play when he doesn't really have any other options. Manchester United's depth is thin, and when you look at some of the signings they're trying to make, they haven't exactly addressed their biggest needs. They still don't have a left back. Their center backs are garbage, and yet they're signing players like Van de Beek when they already have multiple attacking midfielders. They're signing players, or they want to sign players like Sancho when they've already got great wingers in the club. So if those things do happen, you have to wonder how he's going to manage these lineups. Again, I haven't seen any pattern that makes me believe in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer beyond what he's shown us, which is that he finishes 5th, 4th maybe. Okay, great, but he hasn't won anything big and he's cracked under the pressure. That is what I think separates United from the rest of the top 4 that I will reveal in the next couple of videos. And that is why ultimately I see them finishing 5th place, even if they may actually have a slightly better roster than a team or two that finishes ahead of them. So that does it for my first video. as I said before, subscribe to the channel if you're new because we got so much more coming out with all the season previews. There's going to be videos the next 2 days as I reveal the rest of the top 4. But for now, here's what you know. Tottenham 6th, Manchester United 5th, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Peace.